was just past 8 p.m. when Josh wheeled his tired 5-year-old son, Eli, out of the grocery store. The chill in the autumn air made Eli snuggle closer into his oversized hoodie as he held tightly onto a half-eaten banana. Josh was balancing, the weight of his world in one hand, a shopping bag filled with on-sale essentials, and Eli's stroller in the other. He was a single dad doing his best to stay afloat, one coupon and bedtime story at a time. They were just a few steps from their old Chevy when Josh noticed something out of place in the parking lot. A figure slumped beside a sleek black Mercedes, barely visible in the dim light. A woman, alone, unmoving. He froze. His first instinct was to protect Eli, but then the woman stirred. Barely. Her lips parted, whispering words that sounded like a riddle. "I own this whole building." Josh blinked. Did she just say she owned the entire shopping plaza? She looked no different than anyone else. Her jacket torn, mascara streaked, a heel missing. She didn't look like someone who owned anything, but in that moment, she didn't look like someone lying either. "Are you okay?" he asked, kneeling down, using his coat sleeve to shield her from the cold concrete. No answer, just shallow breathing. Josh pulled out his phone, called 911, and stayed with her. Eli sat beside them quietly, offering his last piece of banana. She didn't take it, but the gesture mattered. When the paramedics arrived, Josh stayed until they wheeled her away. He didn't even get her name. Just a thank you from a tired EMT and a confused nod when he mentioned what she said. 3 weeks passed. Josh forgot about the woman in the rush of daycare runs and night shifts at the auto shop, until one afternoon he got a call at work. "Mr. Turner?" the voice asked. "Are you the man who helped a woman in the parking lot outside Cloverfield Plaza?" "Yeah. She's been asking for you. She'd like to see you." The hospital room smelled of antiseptic and blooming lilies. She looked better now, awake, alert, and dressed in a crisp cardigan. "Mr. Turner?" She smiled, her voice much steadier. "You probably thought I was nuts." Josh chuckled, awkwardly. "I thought you were in trouble." "You were right," she paused. "I had a panic attack. I hadn't eaten. I just left a meeting where I fired 3 people. One of them deserved it. The other 2 didn't. I cracked, and nobody noticed." Her name was Mary Ann Hale. She wasn't just the owner of Cloverfield Plaza. She owned multiple properties across the state. But she lived alone. No kids, no close friends, no one to call when her world tipped sideways. "You were the only one who stopped," she said. Everyone else walked by. But a single dad with a toddler and a tired face knelt. "Down to help," Josh shrugged. Felt like the right thing to do. She smiled again. "You reminded me what it means to be human." A week later, Josh received a letter. It was from Mary Ann. In it was a voucher for a year of free rent in one of her apartments, 2 bedrooms newly renovated, and a job offer, building manager for a complex 10 minutes from Eli's school. Benefits included. At the bottom, she'd scribbled, "People like you should never have to choose between doing the right thing and surviving." Josh accepted, moved in, started a new chapter, not because of the handout, but because someone believed in repaying kindness with opportunity. Because sometimes the people who seem like they have it all are the ones who need help the most. And sometimes doing the right thing, even when you're tired, broke, or scared, sets off a chain reaction that changes more than one life. Josh never imagined life could feel this steady. Mornings were now filled with the smell of fresh pancakes and the soft sound of Eli humming cartoons in the background. He had time to pack real lunches, walk Eli to school, and even take deep breaths without worrying if the car would start or if the rent check would bounce. He kept the job Mary Ann offered. It wasn't glamorous, but it was honest work. Fixing leaky faucets, checking heating systems, keeping the grounds clean. It was physical, grounding, and in its own way, therapeutic. He found joy in the routine, and more than anything, in the safety he could finally offer his son. Mary Ann visited now and then, not as the property owner, but as a friend. She'd bring coffee and ask Eli about dinosaurs, or offer Josh advice on stubborn boilers. But beneath it all was a quiet gratitude, something neither of them talked about directly, yet both deeply understood. One crisp December evening, as snow began to coat the sidewalks, Josh found Marianne sitting alone on the apartment's shared bench, sipping from a thermos. He joined her. "I ever tell you why I chose you?" she asked. "You said I helped." She smiled. "Lots of people help when it's easy. You helped when you didn't have much left to give." Josh looked out at the snowfall, thoughtful. "I didn't even think twice. I just saw someone who needed help. And that's exactly the kind of person I needed in my life." They sat in silence for a moment, letting the snow fall softly between them. She looked better now, lighter somehow. Not just in appearance, but in spirit. "You saved my life that night," she said quietly. Josh shook his head. "You would have been fine." "No," she said firmly. "I mean it. Not just the physical part. I was unraveling, and your kindness, it reminded me that I didn't want to disappear. Not when people like you exist in the world." He didn't know what to say to that, so he said the only thing that came to mind. "I'm glad you're still here." She reached for and squeezed his hand gently. "So am I." A few weeks later, she launched a foundation, a quiet, low-profile initiative aimed at helping working parents, especially single ones, find safe housing and stable jobs. She asked Josh to help run it, not as a figurehead, but as the heart. The one who knew what it meant to scrape by, to struggle and still choose decency. He accepted, not because of pride or ambition, but because he'd been there, because he knew the difference a small break could make in someone's life, and because someone once did the same for him. Years would pass. Eli would grow. The foundation would expand. And Josh's story, one of simple kindness on a cold night in a grocery store parking lot, would ripple into hundreds more. But for Josh, the most important thing wasn't the success or the praise. It was this, that when his son asked what it meant to be a good man, he could answer truthfully, "It means helping, even when no one's looking, even when you're tired, even when it's hard." Because sometimes the smallest act of compassion can be the very thing that keeps the world from falling apart, for someone else and maybe even for yourself.